Okay, after going on that kind of hysterical rant there, um, I realized what I had written that I was not able to read. Then I remembered when after I figured it out, my story that I've told over and over again about 24 and everything. Uh, as I said, what was I supposed to do? And this gets into what I think is kind of an interesting subject. Uh, I knew that I could only tell a very few people. It was obvious that I was going to have to suck it up, so to speak, and couldn't go around talking about it. My best friend at the time, that I haven't talked to in 30 years, because of something that I did to upset him. Like, I don't care, but um, he knew that yes, I'd figured this thing out. I don't think he thought I was the savior or anything, but his attitude was, well, look, if you got some big mission, why don't you go do it or do something? And in 1983, I don't really want to expose people specifically. I just don't think that's a good idea. Somebody that I was working with told me that he knew my secret. He didn't know yes or anything like that, but he somehow knew it. He told me that God told him, and he said, why are you writing software? You should go to Africa and help people or something. And I will now discuss this. My attitude about this thing was that the world had to, in some way or another, look like it was going to come to an end, or come to an end, and then that's when I go do what I was supposed to do. I just didn't see any point in, uh, going out there and talking about it. But because of that, you can't, at least to me, you couldn't separate the two. So that's why I never talk about it. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because about a little bit less than a year ago, in the summer of 2019, some inner prompting, guidance, whatever it is, told me to start speaking out. So I started speaking out about climate change, man-made climate change, and I don't want to bore people with that. I've already told you what I think about that scam. Um, so that was that. And more to the point, back with my former best friend, I had to move to Houston to get a career, and I almost all my jobs were related to oil companies, which I had a lower opinion of back in those days than I do now, believe it or not, because I've studied this environmental stuff, and I just don't think things are as bad as what they're saying. But most of my jobs were related to oil companies, and all jobs in Houston are oil related anyway, even if you don't work for them, because that's just the way Houston is. And as time went on, and I still wasn't, doing anything, my former best friend, when I went to, I worked for BP for many years, and other than the Gulf oil spill, I think BP is a good company. That's my opinion. It was a good company to work for anyway. With it, when I worked in Houston, we had a lot of good people. Didn't become my friends. I haven't even spoken about. I lived in Houston from May 81 to 96. And again, at that time, I thought, oh, we had severe environmental crises and whatever they were saying about global warming back in those days. Because remember, they didn't turn up the heat about global warming until maybe the late 90s. I mean, they were talking about it before then, but they really turned on the heat since the late 90s. And it's, we know what it's been since then. But I've changed my opinion of the supposed environmental crises. So that's why I just don't have never really wanted to speak out. So that's that. Now let's go back to the virus. I want to give you a couple of examples just how stupid do they think people are. They've come out with this stuff and then they've changed their minds, and the retractions are almost worse than the original claims. For example, when they were claiming that the virus was on could stay on surfaces for, what did they say, for 15 minutes, or was it an hour or two? I don't remember. This is ridiculous. It's not. If somebody who knows this stuff wants to tell me that that's true, please give me the science behind it because I'm not buying it. Then they retracted it. And you know that it was a scam, with at least this part of it, because the article that I read, and I think I saved the link, they were talking about now they've decided that it can't stay on surfaces for very long, and they put the thing with can the virus be transmitted by on your domestic pets and then could be transmitted to you, and they put that in the same article. They're two different things. I'd have to imagine that it's very possible that whether it's this virus or some other virus can definitely be transmitted from your pets to you. I'd have to believe that. And yet this article, because again, they're just making this up, some of it anyway. This article was saying, and they just want to assure you that no, it can't be transmitted. That I ain't buying that. And just the fact that they would combine surfaces with animals, they're two different things, and I already said that. And another thing that this was just so blatant when this thing first started. I had made up my mind, despite the fact that I have this respiratory thing, which hasn't been too bad the last few days, a little bit of coughing. Where it's called enforcing the norm. Remember, they said, okay, somebody may get the virus, but they can't, they would be asymptomatic, but they could pass it on to you. I don't know whether anybody who's looking at this video saw the other day, they now changed their mind. No, that can't happen. But what they did before is that when the scam first started is they told people that what I just said, that somebody who could have the virus but it didn't affect him could transmit it. That's how they enforced the norm. Now everybody's got to wear a mask. Now everybody's got to do what they got to say. It's quite a travesty, but it's controlled, and the way that they have locked down with barely a whimper just blows me away. Now I got what, 2.5 minutes here. These protests, a dead giveaway of what a scam this virus thing is. Now I heard that there were 1,200 medical experts who were saying that it's fine to go out and protest with whatever the virus precautions they were using or not using, and they obviously weren't doing but so much. That was okay, but the rest of us have to keep doing what they told us to do. And when I go places, I don't want to get specific because I don't want to get down on people. They're still disinfecting and doing all this other stuff when I just said they retracted the stuff about the virus can stay on surfaces. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be hygienic, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't clean up. But it's just, here we go. Make it up, tell people they got to do it, and they'll do it, and then we'll retract it, and then nobody knows, which is what a lot of things happen with fake news, is that somebody catches them, and they'll print a retraction on, page 10 or something.